Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story. It is Tuesday, and I'm with Alyssa Bream and Jay Rivenbark. We're in the book of Joel this week, and we are in chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. And I want to talk about a particular subject. So let me just read the first 6 verses. It says, "Sound the trumpet in Jerusalem, raise the alarm on my holy mountain. Let everyone tremble in fear, because the day of the Lord is upon us. It is a day of darkness and gloom, a day of thick clouds and deep blackness. Suddenly, like dawn spreading across the mountains, a great and mighty army appears. Nothing like it has been seen before or will ever be seen again. Fire burns in front of them, and flames follow after them. Ahead of them, the land lies as beautiful as the Garden of Eden. Behind them, there is nothing but desolation. Not one thing escapes. They look like horses. They charge forward like war horses. Look at them as they leap along the mountaintops. Listen to the noise they make, like the rumbling of chariots, like the roar of fire sweeping across the field of stubble, or like a mighty army moving into battle. Fear grips all the people. Every face grows pale with terror." So, in the verse 1, it says, "Let everyone tremble in fear." This is a command from God. He wants them to fear. But in verse 6, it says, "Fear grips the people. Every face grows pale with terror." What is the difference between the command to fear in verse 1 and the fear that we find in verse 6?
Verse 1 is talking about what we would phrase, I think, as the fear of the Lord, where it is a respect and a reverence and an awe, whereas I think verse 6 is the dread of seeing the destruction all around, where they know that things are going badly and that they can't do anything about it. So I think in some ways I wish that they were able to use different words there instead of fear for both of them, because there's such different meanings and such different ways that we understand that.
Yeah, I tend to agree that the first application is all about recognizing the sovereignty and the power of God, and when His wrath, when He decides enough's enough and what He can do. Use terms all respect, I think, are applicable there. And then when you get to verse 6, it's a result of what they are feeling, what they are seeing, what they are witnessing. It comes from the experience of what they're having. To me, the one is on the front end and needs to be in place, recognizing who God is and He's unlimited, and the other is what we experience sometimes brings us fear.
He uses the word tremble in fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of things I would say. One, I believe as believers, we look forward to the day of the Lord, whenever that is. We want that day to come. But I'm sure, I feel confident you guys have seen a child, particularly a child, who something exciting is getting ready to happen, or I remember I have lots of friends in the music business, and my friend had an act that was opening for Taylor Swift. This was years ago. No. This was what I'm thinking of as a different situation. He had somebody opening for Justin Bieber, and the girls were lined up, little 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls, dressed up like they were going to a club. It's crazy to watch, to see. But with their moms, anyway, so they had this VIP section. And they had signed up. It was a meet and greet kind of thing where they could come in and he would take a picture and sign an autograph for them. And you could literally see the girls just trembling with excitement. It was this expectation of something that was going to happen, and it wasn't a bad thing. Like it was something they were looking forward to. You could have described it as fear or awe if you wanted to. They were certainly in awe of him, but the tremble wasn't an afraid tremble. It was an excitement tremble. And I think if believers, if I believe, like if I knew the day of the Lord was coming, like this was, in the next couple of hours, like I'm going to see him and, all of these things are going to take place. I think I would act like those girls standing in that line, if I knew that it was going to happen, just that tremble of excitement. But
you a Justin Bieber fan?
I'm a fan of Scooter Braun, who discovered Justin Bieber, who is a record producer.
Just asking the questions that people want to know.
I don't even know. I don't know that I could name a single song he has.
I was recorded. A little bit too old to be in the
Biebs
club.
Yeah. He's not on my radar. As a matter of fact, the only thing that I can recall watching him do was last year. He showed up at a Maverick City music concert and went on stage and sang 2 or 3 songs with them. And that caught my attention, and I've seen, some, he was buddies with Carl Lentz and some of those guys. But anyhow, the verse 6 though says it's a fear that grips. It's one that you can't shake. I don't know if y'all have ever been gripped by fear that you couldn't shake, like you were scared to death of something, like I don't know what I'm going to do. That's a different feeling. That it's not a feeling of excitement, it's a feeling of dread and I don't want this to happen and how fast can this get over and how bad is it going to be. That's a different kind of fear. And I believe I don't believe, maybe this is something that y'all could speak to. I don't know if as believers we should have that excitement on a regular basis, and as unbelievers they should also be gripped by fear, knowing that it's coming. Because I have to believe that just as much as if I could physically see the day, like, I got this notification on my phone that says, in 2 hours, the Lord's going to appear. It's the day of the Lord. I want to believe I would be excited, but I also want to believe that those who aren't right with God, if they got that same notification, I have to believe that most of them would be in the grip of fear. That, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be judged? Have I been wrong all along? Should I have accepted Christ? That's kind of when I read it. It is one is an excitement and awe because of the recognition of who somebody is. The other is this, oh my God, how bad is this going to be? Have you ever been in a time where you were gripped with fear and just how bad is this going to be?
Absolutely. Yeah, where it's just literally terrified is the word, and it's all consuming. Other things just not even on your radar. That is the one thing.
Oh yeah, and it's not the thing I would tell people about this grip of fear thing. It's not always physical things. Like it's not always, okay, I'm afraid somebody's going to kill me, shoot me, I'm going to fall off a building. Sometimes it is relational. We're scared to death they're going to tell us one more thing. If they tell us one more thing, like, I'm going to snap. Like this is, I can't handle anymore. I just, it's just, I have been in interpersonal relationships where I was hurt, broken. I was on the hurt and broken side, and I'm sure the roles have been reversed. And there was an attempt to repair it. And in an attempt to repair it, there was this trying to be open. But man, I thought, gosh, if I hear one more thing, if you tell me one more thing, like I just don't know if I can handle it, So, can y'all give an example of being in the grip of fear?
A slightly inconsequential one was when we were in Israel. We were getting ready to go to the tunnels. And I really wanted to go through. There was 2 tunnels we could choose. One was lit and dry and
not
shorter.
Not like a lit,
and like you're underground, I don't know how many feet underground, but it was built by the Canaanites, and it was going to be a cool experience. The other one is the Hezekiah tunnels, but those had no lights and water, and it was like more like a 20-minute to 40-minute walk when I Googled it, because as I was starting, and I really wanted to go through the cool ones, but then as I was getting closer, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. And so I ended up going through the other tunnels, and I mean, that was a decision everyone could make. You didn't have to go through the scary tunnels, but man, that like claustrophobia feeling, like I was starting to feel it before I was even in the tunnel. I was like, nope, not going to do that. And neither of you guys went through
Now, if I'd have had water shoes, I would have done it. I didn't have water shoes, so
you could have gone barefoot.
Yeah, no, I'm not that much of a man.
Yeah, just tell it like it is. Yeah. I didn't have water shoes either. So, but when you said that, I was the most recent one that I can think of was also Israel related. It's when we got diverted because of the fire from Masada, and we had to take the long way around. And we were still in pretty mountainous regions. There were a lot of places there was a long ways down, and our bus driver was fighting sleep. I don't know if y'all were aware of it.
I was sitting in the back.
And I saw, he'll nod a couple times and catch himself. And I'm just like, and we couldn't be on flat ground, of course. We had to be elevated. And I was like, if we go over in this bus, I was just like, and I'll tell you, fear, I'm just confessing, fear gripped me to the point that I felt the need to share it with somebody else. To say, hey, have you noticed this?
Yeah.
And then even to the guide to say, I got some real concerns about this. But I do think it makes the point. Fear can paralyze you or can motivate you to do something. And I felt for the good of everybody, including myself, I need to bring it somebody's attention. And, eventually we got out of the high elevations, and I felt a lot better about that. And then eventually we made a stop, and I think he loaded up on some coffee, and so, we were good. But it is interesting how simple things can bring that in if it's not put in check.
Yeah, well, I was up front with you. And I knew it was bothering you, and it won't bother me.
It won't bother me.
My wife says you literally have to be in the ditch for him to be concerned about your driving. And that's the thing, though. There are things that I want no parts of that you're not afraid of.
Yeah.
And everything is all personal. The things that grip you, and we all know when it comes to even in moments of conviction, because I think that's what this is intended to be about. Sin and conviction,
not claustrophobia.
Right. Well, but I think I think we have to help people relate to that. There are sermons that in the same room, people are excited about, and they're going, "Yes, thank you, Lord, for my freedom." But in that same room, there are people who are in the grip of fear and do not know how they're going to get out of it. And I think that's what we have to realize, that the day of the Lord brings both.
Yeah, both.
It brings an excitement, fear, trembling, and awe of God. This is fantastic. But it brings a grip of fear to some people who just aren't ready. And it just pays to be ready. So thank you for joining us today on this edition of One Single Story. We hope you'll be back tomorrow as we continue our conversation in the book of Joel.